All right, this next little bit is about finding angles. So if we know that the sine of x is equal to 0.8, and we're supposed to find two angles on the unit circle between 0 and 360. So if we think about this, here's 0, here's 180. We want sine. We know sine is 0.8. So sine is your y value. If this is 1, then 0.8 would be about here. And we have our unit circle. Wow, that's a really great circle. Awesome. So we're going to have one in the second quadrant and one answer in the first quadrant. If we use our calculators and we do inverse sine of 0.8, and again, we want to make sure we're in degrees because the direction said to find an angle in between 0 and 360. So if we're in degrees and we do 0.8, and we do inverse sine, I get 53.1 degrees. That's the angle in the first quadrant. We also, it says two angles, so we need to give the other angle, which is in the second quadrant. I can do that by doing 180 minus 53.1 degrees. And that's what all this is saying up here, is that for sine, if you do 180 minus the angle, you're going to get the exact same value. So I'm going to do 180 minus 53.1, and I get 126.9 degrees. So those are my two answers for sine. Let's think about cosine. Cosine is the x value. And if this is 1, then 0.2 would be like right here. When is x equal to 0.2? Would be in the first quadrant and in the fourth quadrant. So if I do inverse cosine of 0.2 on my calculator, I get 78.5 degrees. To find the other angle, I would do 360. So I want to find that angle minus 78.5. And I get 281.5 degrees. How about tangent? Tangent is negative in the second quadrant and in the fourth quadrant. So I'm going to do inverse tangent of negative. And when I did that, I got x equals negative 75 if we round, negative 76 degrees. Negative 76 degrees is not an angle in between 0 and 360. It's this angle right here. And we want to give it in between 0 and 360, so I'm just going to add 360 to that to get my angle in the fourth quadrant, 284 degrees. And then 76 degrees is my reference angle right here. So to find that angle, I can do 180 minus 76. And that will give me an angle in the second quadrant. So here I have two angles where tangent is equal to -4 in between 0 and 360 degrees. Let's try it with radians. Find two angles on the unit circle between 0 and 2 pi. In this case, we want sine to be negative. Sine is your y. When is y going to be -1/4? It's going to be negative in two quadrants. First, I'm going to make sure I'm in radians. I'm going to type in 1/4 and I'm going to do inverse sine of -1/4. I got that x equals -0.253. This number is not in between 0 and 2 pi, but it is this angle right here that is rotating in the opposite direction, so that's giving me the angle in the fourth quadrant. So I need to find an angle that's positive, and so to do that, I'll just add 2 pi. And I get 6.03 radians. The second angle I need to find is in the third quadrant, and that's this angle. Reference angle is 0.53. So to find the angle in the third quadrant, I'm going to do pi plus 0.253. And I get 3.39. Those are my two angles. This one's in the fourth quadrant, that one's in the third. I really encourage you all to draw the pictures. That will help. Okay, next one. Cosine is negative. The x is negative this time. Cosine would be negative in the second quadrant and in the third quadrant. So I'm going to do, on my calculator, inverse cosine of 0.41. 1.99 is an angle in the second quadrant. So how am I going to find the angle in the third quadrant? So it might be helpful to find the reference angle here. And we can find the reference angle by taking 1.99 or doing pi minus 1.99. And that will give us our reference angle. So that means this angle here is 1.15. And so that will be the same as this angle here. So all I need to do is add pi to 1.15. And that will give me this angle, which is 4.29. Tangent equals positive 4 this time. Well, tangent's positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. So let's do inverse tangent of 4. I get x equals 1.33. That will be the angle in the first quadrant. To find the angle in the third quadrant, I just need to do pi plus 1.133. And I get 4.47. I really think drawing the picture will help. All right, let's think about the equation for the straight line. We have y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, or the rise over the run. Well, if we drew in a little triangle here, and we know this angle, then the rise would be the opposite of this angle, and the run would be the adjacent to this angle, and that would be the tangent. So the tangent of the angle is going to be your slope. So a new equation for this can be tangent of theta times x plus b, and b is still your y-intercept. Knowing that an equation for an uphill is going to be positive, this line is going uphill, so we have opposite over adjacent is positive. And also that's because the tangent of an acute angle here is going to be positive, because that's like an angle in quadrant 1, right? And then this angle over here, that angle would be the supplement, and so then the tangent, well, we'll get to an example. Just look at the picture. Okay, so for this one, here we go. For this one, if I draw in my triangle, I want to use this angle, not the bigger angle, for my tangent. This is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. And then this one would be going downhill. This is going to give me a negative. Let's look at an example. I'm going to draw in my right triangle here. What would this angle be if this angle is pi over 4? We have vertical angles that are congruent, so if that's pi over 4, then this is pi over 4. The sum of all the angles in a triangle must add together to be 180, or pi. And so this angle is also pi over 4. So the slope of this line is going to be the tangent of pi over 4. Tangent of pi over 4 is 1. This is going uphill, so it's positive 1. So y equals 1x, and the y-intercept is 3. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.